before the zodiac was mapped across the heavens, long before the ancients traced patterns in the stars, there was a sacred truth whispered in the temples, passed down through mystery schools, and felt in the deepest chambers of the soul. It speaks of a cosmic split, a divine separation, and a journey back to wholeness. It speaks of Gemini, the constellation of the twins. Some call them Castor and Pollux. Others know them as the Dioscuri, the sons of light. But no matter what name reaches your ears, Gemini holds a frequency that stirs something ancient within you, something that remembers what it means to be both mortal and divine, to live in duality while seeking unity, to be split and yet eternally connected. Imagine two souls born from a single spark, one bound to earth, the other to the heavens, one destined to die, the other blessed with eternity. And yet, despite this separation, despite the great divide between flesh and spirit, they chose each other again and again. They chose love over division, unity over separation, and in doing so, they became the living symbol of what humanity is here to learn. This is not just an ancient myth. This is not just a constellation painted across the night sky. This is a soul memory that lives inside many of us, a calling that some feel without ever understanding why. Have you ever felt like you are two people at once? Have you ever looked in the mirror and wondered which version of you is real? Or felt a pull between your earthly desires and your spiritual longings, as if you were being torn between two worlds? If so, this video is for you, because today we are diving deep into the full story of Gemini. We will explore where this myth came from, what it truly means, and most importantly, why this energy is awakening in so many souls right now, in this very moment. This is not just a lesson in mythology. This is a soul remembering. Stay with me until the end, because you might just discover why your heart has always felt divided and how that division was never a wound, but a gift. Let's begin the journey into the mystery of Gemini together. The story of Gemini begins in ancient Greece, in the land of Sparta, where a queen named Leda walked beneath the twilight sky. She was a woman of great beauty, a keeper of divine grace, and on one fateful evening, she caught the attention of Zeus himself, the king of the gods. Zeus, drawn to her light, descended from Olympus not in his true form, but disguised as a magnificent swan. And in that moment of divine meeting, a sacred union took place, a merging of heaven and earth, of God and mortal. But the story does not end there, because that same night, Leda lay with her mortal husband, Tyndareus, the king of Sparta, and from these two unions, mortal and divine, came a miracle beyond understanding. Leda gave birth to two eggs. From one egg emerged the twins Castor and Pollux, and from the other came their sisters, Helen and Clytemnestra. But while the sisters would go on to shape the destiny of empires, it was the brothers, the twins, who would forever alter the understanding of what it means to live between two worlds. Castor was born mortal, his soul bound to the cycles of life and death, his heart tethered to the earth. He was a master horseman, swift and skilled, moving across the land with grace and precision. Pollux, on the other hand, was born divine, his blood carrying the immortality of Zeus. He was unmatched in strength, a boxer whose power could not be defeated, a warrior whose spirit could never be extinguished. And though they were different, one mortal, one eternal, they were inseparable. Where Castor rode, Pollux followed. Where Pollux fought, Castor stood beside him. They were two halves of the same soul, bound not by blood alone, but by love, by loyalty, and by a bond that transcended even death itself. Together, They journeyed with Jason and the Argonauts in search of the Golden Fleece. They calmed storms at sea and protected sailors who called upon their names. They became symbols of brotherhood, of unity, of the sacred connection between the mortal and the divine. But as with all great myths, their story would not remain in the light forever, because duality always brings conflict, and every soul that walks between two worlds must one day face the moment when those worlds collide. It happened during a dispute, a conflict over love, over cattle, over something so human and so earthly that it seems almost tragic in its simplicity. Castor and Pollux had fallen in love with two women, Phoebe and Hilaira, who were already promised to another set of twins, Idas and Lynceus. And so began the battle, the ancient dance of rivalry, of ego, of separation playing itself out in blood and sorrow. In the chaos of the fight, Castor was struck down, a mortal wound, a death that could not be undone. And in that moment, Pollux, the immortal twin, felt something break within him. He stood over the body of his brother, the one who had walked beside him through every adventure, every trial, every breath of life, and he could not bear it. He could not accept a world where he lived and Castor did not. So Pollux did something that had never been done before. He turned to his father, Zeus, and he made a choice. He could have ascended to Mount Olympus, taken his place among the gods, lived forever in divine glory. But instead, he asked for something else. He asked to share his immortality with Castor. He asked that they never be separated, that they remain together, even if it meant splitting his own eternal life in two. And Zeus, moved by this act of selfless love, granted his wish, but not in the way Pollux might have expected, because the laws of the cosmos do not bend easily, and mortality and immortality cannot exist in the same space at the same time. So Zeus created a new arrangement, a divine compromise. He decreed that the twins would spend half their time in the heavens, dwelling among the stars, and the other half in the underworld, walking the shadowed paths of the dead, neither fully alive, neither fully departed, always together, yet always moving between two realms. And then, to honor their love, their sacrifice, and their bond, Zeus placed them in the night sky as the constellation Gemini, where they would shine forever, side by side, never apart, a living testament to the power of unity within duality. The twins became eternal, not because they escaped death, but because they embraced both life and death, light and shadow, heaven and earth, and in doing so, they became whole. When we look at the myth of Castor and Pollux, we are not simply reading an ancient story. We are looking into a mirror, a reflection of the soul's journey through this human experience, because Gemini is not just a constellation, it is a living archetype, a cosmic blueprint of what every soul must learn in order to ascend. The spiritual significance of Gemini lies in its ability to reveal the truth of duality. It shows us that we are not one thing or the other. We are not simply human or spirit. We are not just body or soul. We are both. And the struggle, the conflict, the pain that comes from feeling divided is not a flaw. It is the very path to wholeness. Gemini represents the bridge between the higher self and the lower self, between the soul and the personality, between the divine messenger and the earthly seeker. It is the sign of communication, of connection, of learning to speak the language of both worlds. It is ruled by Mercury, the messenger of the gods, the one who moves between realms with ease, carrying wisdom from the heavens to the earth and back again. In esoteric astrology, Gemini is known as the light of interplay. It is the energy that holds the opposites together, that keeps them in magnetic relationship, that prevents them from flying apart into chaos or collapsing into sameness. It is the breath, the rhythm, the pulse that connects spirit and matter, thought and emotion, mind and heart. When we are born under Gemini, or when Gemini energy is strong in our chart, we carry this sacred task within us. We are the bridge builders. We are the translators. We are the ones who must learn to hold space for contradiction, to honor both sides of every story, to move fluidly between logic and intuition, between doing and being, between speaking and listening. But this is not easy, because duality is uncomfortable. It asks us to sit in the tension of not knowing, of not choosing, of allowing both truths to exist at once. It asks us to embrace our shadow and our light, our strength and our vulnerability, our mortality and our divinity. And for many souls, this feels like being torn in two. But Gemini teaches us that this is not a curse, it is a calling, because only by embracing both sides can we become whole. Only by loving the mortal twin can we honor the immortal one. Only by accepting our humanity can we truly step into our divinity. The deeper you go into the wisdom of Gemini, the more you realize that this sign is not about choosing between two things. It is about integrating them. It is about dissolving the illusion of separation and discovering the unity that exists within the duality. Gemini asks us to recognize that our soul and our personality are not enemies. They are partners. The soul, like Pollux, is eternal, wise, connected to source, filled with light. The personality, like Castor, is mortal, curious, grounded in experience, learning through trial and error. And for most of our lives, they seem to pull in opposite directions. The soul whispers, slow down, go inward, trust the unseen. The personality says, keep moving, gather more, prove yourself, control the outcome. And we stand in the middle, feeling split, feeling restless, feeling like we don't fully belong in either world. But Gemini teaches us that the split was never meant to be healed by choosing one over the other. The split was meant to be healed by bringing them into sacred conversation, by letting the soul speak to the personality, and the personality speak back, by creating a bridge, a line of communication, a pathway of light between the two. This is what Mercury, the ruler of Gemini, represents. Mercury is the messenger, the translator, the one who carries information between realms. And when we activate Gemini energy in our lives, we activate our own inner Mercury. We learn to listen to both voices within us. We learn to honor our human needs without abandoning our spiritual truth. We learn to be in the world, but not of it, to engage fully in life, while remembering that we are so much more than this body, this moment, this identity. Gemini also teaches us about relationships, because the twins are not just symbols of the inner self, they also represent how we relate to others. The myth of Castor and Pollux shows us that true connection is not about sameness. It is about honoring difference while remaining unified. It is about seeing the other as a reflection of ourselves, not because they are identical to us, but because they carry a piece of the same divine spark. When we live from the awakened energy of Gemini, we stop trying to make people think like us, believe like us, move like us. We stop demanding that everyone fit into our version of truth. Instead, we become curious. We ask questions, we listen, we allow space for other perspectives, other experiences, other ways of being, because Gemini knows that every soul is on their own journey, and every journey is sacred. Another profound teaching of Gemini is the power of language. of words, of expression. Castor and Pollux were not just warriors. They were known as protectors, as guides, as ones who could calm storms with their presence. And in the same way, those who carry Gemini energy have the gift of using words to heal, to connect, to transform. But this gift must be used wisely, because Gemini can also speak with two tongues, can shift between truths, can scatter energy in too many directions. And when the mind is restless, when curiosity becomes distraction, when communication loses its heart, then Gemini falls into its shadow. The shadow of Gemini is superficiality, gossip, mental overwhelm, and disconnection from feeling. It is the energy of knowing a little about everything, but mastering nothing. It is the tendency to intellectualize emotion rather than feel it, to analyze love rather than experience it. But even the shadow has a purpose, because it shows us what happens when we live only in the mind, when we forget to drop into the heart, when we speak without listening, when we gather information but never apply wisdom. And the path out of the shadow is always the same. It is to bring the mind and the heart into alignment, to let Mercury serve Venus, the sole ruler of Gemini, to let communication become an act of love, to let curiosity become devotion, to let the restless mind finally rest in the stillness of the heart. Throughout history, the energy of Gemini has risen and fallen in waves, and now, in this age of awakening, it is rising again. Because we are living in a time of profound duality, we are witnessing the collapse of old structures and the birth of new ones. We are seeing the clash between fear and love, control and freedom, separation and unity. And it is Gemini energy that is being called forward to help us navigate this transition. Gemini souls are the ones who can hold paradox. They are the ones who can see both sides of every conflict and find the thread of truth that runs through both. They are the bridge builders, the communicators, the ones who can translate the language of the old world into the frequency of the new. If you feel drawn to Gemini, if you have strong Gemini placements in your chart, or if you simply resonate with the energy of the twins, you are here for a reason. You are here to heal duality, not by collapsing it, but by integrating it, not by choosing one side, but by weaving both into a higher truth. You are here to teach others that it is okay to be complex, to hold multiple truths, to change your mind, to evolve, to be human and divine at the same time. You are here to show that the split soul is not broken, it is brilliant. Many Gemini souls feel restless, scattered, unsure of their purpose, and this is because they have not yet understood that their restlessness is the gift, their ability to move between worlds, to see from many angles, to question everything. This is not a flaw, it is their medicine. The world does not need more people who are certain. It needs more people who are curious. It needs more people who can listen, who can adapt, who can hold space for nuance and complexity. And that is the soul gift of Gemini. In this modern awakening, Gemini energy is helping humanity break free from black and white thinking. It is helping us move beyond right and wrong, good and bad, us and them. It is teaching us that life is not a battle between opposites, it is a dance. And the more we learn to move with the rhythm, the more grace we find. There is a reason the myth of Castor and Pollux ends not with their separation, but with their eternal union in the stars. Because the true message of Gemini is this: duality was never meant to divide you, it was meant to awaken you. Every time you feel torn between two desires, two paths, two versions of yourself, you are standing at the threshold of transformation. You are being invited to stop choosing and start integrating. You are being asked to love both the light and the shadow, the human and the divine, the voice that wants to soar and the one that wants to root. Gemini teaches us that wholeness is not the absence of duality, it is the embrace of it. It is the understanding that we can be both strong and soft, both logical and intuitive, both grounded and free. And when we finally stop resisting the split, when we stop trying to be one thing, one truth, one identity, something miraculous happens. We realize we were never split at all. We were always whole. The split was an illusion, a necessary illusion, one that allowed us to experience ourselves from every angle, to learn every lesson, to become conscious of what we always were. And when Pollux chose to share his immortality with Castor, he was not giving something away. He was remembering something. He was remembering that love is stronger than death, that unity is stronger than separation, and that the bond between souls transcends time, space, and even the laws of the gods. You are Gemini, not because of when you were born, but because of what you came here to do. You came here to be the messenger, to speak truth in a world of lies, to ask questions in a world of answers, to move between the seen and the unseen, the known and the unknown, the finite and the infinite. You came here to heal the illusion of separation by living as both, by being the bridge, by showing others that it is possible to be fully human and fully divine at the same time. And perhaps that is why you are here right now, reading these words, feeling this resonance. Perhaps your soul remembers what it is like to be split, to be divided, to be caught between two worlds, and perhaps you are finally ready to stop fighting it. Perhaps you are ready to embrace it, to let the mortal twin and the immortal twin sit side by side, hand in hand, heart to heart, to let them speak to each other, learn from each other, love each other, because that is the true healing. That is the real return, not to one or the other, but to the sacred union of both. And when you do this, when you fully embody the energy of Gemini, something shifts. The restlessness softens, the confusion clears, the mind and the heart align, and you begin to live not as a divided soul, but as a whole one, a soul that knows it came here to experience everything, to learn from duality, and to return home with the wisdom of both worlds woven into its being. As you finish this journey through the mysteries of Gemini, take a moment to pause and breathe. Place your hand on your heart and feel the rhythm there. That is the pulse of your soul. That is the heartbeat of your humanity. And they are not separate. They are one. If something in you stirred as you listened to this story, if your heart felt seen or your spirit felt called, trust that, follow that, because the path of Gemini is not always clear, but it is always true. And you are never alone on this journey. The energy of the twins is rising again, not just in the stars, but in you, in me, in all of us who are learning to bridge the worlds, to speak with love, and to honor the sacred dance of duality. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening, and thank you for remembering. Until next time, walk gently between the worlds, speak with your heart, and let the light of the twins guide you home.